Hi, and welcome to Know Before You Go. Today we're going to be talking about 5 things you need to know about hostels before you book your hostel. So, in my travels, I've met some people who I tell them that I'm staying in hostels, and they're like, "Oh my God, is that safe?" Or how do you know where to stay? Or even just meeting, especially with meeting Americans who've literally never stayed in a hostel before, and they're well into their 20s, which kind of baffles me a little bit. But I've realized it's because nobody really knows, well, what to look for or whether or not it's safe. There's a lot of backpackers and stuff out there that absolutely do that, and there are a lot of people that know about it. But for those of us who've grown up going to hotels and stuff like that, we don't really know what a good hostel is. So I've got a quick guide for you so that you can best be prepared to book a hostel, because it is a great experience and I highly recommend traveling that way. It saves so much money. And so here you go. Here's my 5 tips for having a good hostel. 5 things to know before you go with a hostel. Number 1, know that it is in fact safe. The one major concern that I hear from people is a hostel safe? Yes, it is. You're gonna hear horror stories of people that got raped and murdered, or they got their passport stolen or something like that. But to be honest, that's really, really rare. That has not been my experience whatsoever, and it hasn't been the majority of people's experience in the hostel culture. It is absolutely totally safe. Now, there are a lot of people in the dorm, and I have lost stuff because my stuff gets mixed up with somebody else's stuff, but I've never actually had anything stolen. I've never felt unsafe in a hostel before. And yeah, it might be kind of scary going into a dorm situation where you've got a lot of people in one room, but actually it creates kind of a sense of accountability more than anything else, because backpackers actually really look out for each other. And so when you're in a hostel and you've got a bunch of people around there, it actually creates a much safer environment rather than an unsafe environment, because people want the system to work and they look out for each other. There is, like I said, it's kind of more of an accountability thing. And so yeah, it is. It's absolutely safe. Obviously, if you're staying in a really crappy hostel in a crappy neighborhood, then yeah, you're probably going to be unsafe. But that's just in general. If you stay in a crappy hotel in a crappy neighborhood, you're also going to be unsafe. So, so the first thing to know is that yes, hostels are absolutely safe. Number 2, know where to look. So just doing a Google search of hostels in whatever city you're going to is not going to really turn up the results that you need. So you need to know where to look. Where do you find a good hostel? Well, one of my favorite websites to use for this, and they also have an app as well, is hostelworld.com, and I'll put the link below. I would highly recommend that if you're planning on traveling, go download the app, go to the website, absolutely use this. It is a more user-powered website, so it is user rated. So when you go and you stay in a hostel and you book through Hostel World, then the day, 2 days afterwards, they're going to prompt you, they're going to prompt you to then write a review, to do a rating. And so every rating that you see on there is from somebody who has stayed there. And a lot of people do that because, again, the traveler backpacker community definitely likes to help each other out. And so it is a really easy to use website. Yes, I judge a website by web design, but it is very user friendly. It's very everything is right there. You can filter things out by location or by price and that kind of thing. And so yeah, it's a really easy website to use. There are other websites. I haven't actually used them, like the Youth Hostel Association and some, like, that's, I don't want to say old fashioned, but it's kind of more of like more antiquated, I guess. Not so many people use it anymore. I'm not a big fan. I did check it out before, and it doesn't have like ratings on the hostels, which kind of bugs me a little bit because I like to know what I'm getting into. I like to know exactly what it's about, and I'm not going to take like some association's word for it. I want to hear from people who've stayed there. What is this place all about? And so that's what I love about Hostel World. Also, a lot of the YHA hostels are advertised on Hostel World. So that's a great thing. The downside is, that's just the one downside, is that they do charge like a little fee for like a booking fee because you're not going directly to the source. But the way to get around that also is just go find the hostel that you want to go to and then go to its website and book. So you don't always have to pay that booking fee. I always have. It's not really that much, and then I get to review the hostel. So if it's a good hostel, I can say nice things, and if it's not, I can say not nice things. So that's always fun. So that I would highly recommend. Hostel World is a really great resource for that. So that now you know where to go to look for a hostel. Number 3, know how to look. So you figured out that hostels are completely safe. You know where to look, but now you're on the website or you're on the app and you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much to look at. There's so many options, especially if you're in a really big city. In Europe especially, you are gonna find so many like options for yourself. And that's a really good thing. But how do you know which one is going to be the best for you? Well, I have a few tips for you for looking at the website, looking at these hostels to know kind of which one is the one for you. So the first thing you're going to look at is you want to find the Holy Trinity. So what do I mean by the Holy Trinity? The Holy Trinity is based off of it's three aspects basically of the hostel. So on Hostel World, they rate based off of 7 different aspects of the hostel, which are location, security, atmosphere, facilities, staff, cleanliness, and then value for your money. So of those 7, there are 3 that will basically make or break your trip. So you absolutely have to have these 3. The first one is location. Location. You might be in the best hostel possible. It might have a great staff. It might be totally clean. It might be like the best vibes ever. And it might be totally secure. All of those things. But if you're busing 30 minutes to get into and seeing sites and doing what it is that you want to do, it's really going to put a cramp in the amount of things that you can do depending on where you're at. Like, for example, when I was in Brighton, and I was house sitting, so I don't have a lot of complaints, but I was outside of the city, and so anytime I wanted to do anything, I had to bus into the city of Brighton for it was probably a good half-hour bus ride, 20 minutes to half hour, which was fine, but it also it made just wanting to go into the city a lot harder. And then I also had to be mindful of when I was coming back, so I couldn't just stay out till 3 a.m. Not that you could there, but I had to be okay, well, I have to be back in time to catch the bus going back. And so locate where you're located at is really important. On the flip side of that, you also don't want to be, depending on the city, you don't want to be in the middle of everything, because some cities are very loud when you are in the city center. And I've met many people who stayed in hostels in the middle of Prague that were I need to get the hell out of here because it was just so loud and noisy and it just didn't feel good. So even though you're close to stuff, the location was still terrible. So a good location is the first part of the Holy Trinity. The second member of the Holy Trinity would be cleanliness. Now, obviously, this is self-explanatory. You want to be in a clean hostel. This will make or break your stay. It might be a really great place, but if it's not clean, you are not going to have fun. Everybody is sharing facilities, and it's just the way it is, but you gotta keep clean. And so if you're in a place that has it's kind of low on the cleanliness rating, unless it's like your only option, go ahead and skip it. Now I know that hostels, can get kind of crazy at night, as far as like partying and stuff, and that's totally normal. Things get messy. But if a good hostel will clean up after themselves, and it won't affect that cleanliness rating. So keep that in mind. So cleanliness is absolutely important. And the third member of the Holy Trinity of hostel ratings is atmosphere. So the vibe of the place will make or break your stay. And I say this from personal experience. I've experienced it on both ends of the spectrum. And it is absolutely important. When I was in Poznan in Poland, it was really cheap. It was a really clean hostel. The facilities were great. Everything was awesome. Other than the fact that it was dead. It was absolutely dead. So like I was close to stuff and it was clean and I had, everything else, but nobody talked to each other. I don't even know if everybody spoke English, but like even the people that did were kind of creepy actually. But yeah, it was completely dead. And honestly, it doesn't really make me want to go back to Poznan. Now, I might, because I was sick for part of that, but like, I don't know, it didn't leave me with a good taste. And I was like, oh, this place is kind of boring. It might have been totally interesting, but I was like bored out of my gourd there. And it was really because the hostel was just so dead. And as a solo traveler, that is really, really important, is to be able to have that social aspect. Now, on the other end of that spectrum, when I was in Budapest, I stayed in one of my all-time favorite hostels. And it was amazing. The people there, a lot of them were solo travelers, so people were looking for a social life within the hostel. The hostel really encouraged people to socialize with each other just based on the fact that it was small and just the setup of everything. And we all hung out together. We all went out at night together. We all looked out for each other. It was a really awesome experience. And so, that has really made me go, yeah, I really want to go to Budapest and I want to go back to that hostel. But like, it really made my stay in Budapest that much more amazing. And so, atmosphere is absolutely important. So the last thing to know, as far as how to look, is keep in mind, and this is just like a really little side note, is that some countries tend to be more harshly rated than others. So like in Australia, I was like looking at hostels and I'm like, oh my God, everything is so low. Are like all the hostels crappy? And somebody said, no, it's not that they're all crap. It's that Australians are really harsh on their ratings. So you have to kind of adjust for that. So if you're looking at a country and it all seems kind of low, it's probably because the people that are from there that are normally travel there tend to be rough on the rating system. So just, if you have to adjust that, keep in mind. Otherwise, stick with a solid, like I would recommend, like 8.5 and up. It tends to be a really solid, good hostel. Otherwise, like if you're in Australia, you're gonna have to adjust that. But yeah, I would say 8.5 and up, and you're good. So those are some things to know as far as how to look for the hostel. Number 4, know the facilities that you're gonna be dealing with. So these aren't things that's gonna like make or break your stay, but it's really good to know as far as like packing and budgeting is what kind of facilities are gonna be made available to you. So on the app, if you scroll down and then like just above the map, it'll have like a bunch of little symbols that'll say facilities. And if you click on that, it'll give you the full list of things that the hostel basically has to offer for you included in the price. So things like free Wi-Fi, towels, bedding, that kind of stuff. So things like Wi-Fi and bedding obviously are going to be standard. The things that are not going to be standard are whether or not you get like a towel, whether or not there's a kitchen facility versus like a coffee and tea making facility. Usually places that offer free breakfast don't have a kitchen, just as a general rule of thumb, just to know. Some places do offer free breakfast. So it's just things to know as far as like, should I budget for eating out a lot? Should I budget for things like, like for me when I was in London and it was like coffee and tea making facilities, I was like, well, I'm going to eat a lot of soup. So I had to like plan that accordingly. Hey, if you don't have any food restrictions and you're going, free breakfast, that's also awesome. So that's just some things to keep in mind just for planning. Also, insider tip, if it says free towel, bring your own towel anyway. They're usually completely crap. Just don't even bother. They're like, yeah, don't. But do know the facilities. Like I said, it's not going to make or break your stay, but it is just really good to know before you go. Number 5, know how to hostel. So the last thing, and this might seem like a no-brainer, but the last thing you won't need to know before you go is just know how to hostel. Know that this is supposed to be a fun, laid-back experience where you meet new people and it's really awesome. And it's just like this kind of like communal thing, like, I mean, you're going to have to expect that, yes, you're going to be in a bunk bed with a bunch of dorms and expect people to come in late at night drunk. Expect people to be having sex in your dorm room. Expect somebody to be snoring. Expect to have to wait for the shower. All right? Those are things that you should expect because this is a dorm. You've got travelers, got a lot of people. You're bound to come with some downsides. But on the flip side, you can absolutely expect to have a fun time if you use all of these tips and pick a good hostel with a great atmosphere and all that kind of stuff, and just go out and hang out in the common area, and you can really expect to have an absolutely fun time, to hang out with strangers that quickly become your new best friends, to go out with people and get drunk with people that you have no idea who they are and you probably won't see them again, but they're like your best drinking buds that night, and expect to have a new and fabulous experience that absolutely changes your world. I know that sounds weird that would be all from a hostel, but it's the truth. Hostels are so much fun, and I would stay there. Honestly, I think I would stay there even if I could afford to stay in a hotel, just because as a solo traveler, I need a social life. And so it really does provide a nice sense of community, as well as people help each other out. So if you're talking to somebody, be like, yeah, add me on Facebook. Let me help you out. If you're ever in my neck of the woods, you can, I'll tell you like places that you can go, or, whatever. It's just really amazing. I still have people that I've met in hostels, years ago that I'd be like, oh, hey, I'm here. And they'll comment and they'll be like, oh my God, I was there earlier. You should check this place out. And it's just absolutely lovely. So, you absolutely should definitely, I know I say absolutely, definitely do it. Just do it. Stay in a hostel, have so much fun, but also know how to hostel so you're not that jerk that is going, oh my God, this is horrible, or the weird introvert that just reads a book the whole time. Have fun, let loose, go with it, because it's an amazing experience. So there you have it. That is 5 things to know before you go to a hostel, or something along those lines. So if you guys have had an experience in a hostel and you think I forgot something, let me know in the comments below. Or if you have any questions in the comments, yeah, I will be putting all of this on my new blog, and I will link that down below. And I will also, like I said earlier, I'll put the Hostel World website link down below as well for y'all. And yeah, also, shameless plug, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all my shenanigans. I have lots and lots planned for this channel, and I'm really excited. I'm probably going to be going to Sydney in either this weekend or next weekend, so keep your eye out for a video on Sydney. Yeah, and also follow me on Instagram, Snapchat, all of that down below. And yeah, I will see you guys next time. Bye.